Hi, I'm Christine, one half of Two Chapters Apart. We talk about books, travel, crafting, food here, but the core of this account is about books. And so today I'm going to talk about the 16 books that I read in March. So the first book I read this month was called A Killer in the Family. This was an arc I got through NetGalley. It centers on an Indian American family who lives among the elite in New York City, and there's a mystery going on with a serial killer out there and a missing woman. I thought this book was okay. I felt like it over-explained things in a way that made the pace really drag. There were a lot of twists in here, and it's a good, fast-paced, for the most part, mystery if you're looking for something like that. But I don't know if I'm ever going to pick it up again. Next, I read Long Bright River. This is for my mystery book club, and I've been wanting to read this forever. It's by the same author as God of the Woods, Liz Moore, and I loved God of the Woods. I know it was a little controversial in terms of if people liked it or not, but for me, it just transported me to that summer camp in the woods in New York, and so really excited to read her earlier book, Long Bright River. And it really lived up to expectations. This is a mystery police procedural, but really focused on the relationship between two sisters and the impact of drug abuse on that relationship and on kind of the family and the neighborhood in which this book is set. It's set in Philadelphia. It is a deep look into the opioid crisis. It is a heart-wrenching book. It really brings to life the relational and human impact of the opioid crisis, and it still had the elements of a mystery that I wanted. I still wanted to know what had happened to her sister who has gone missing in this book. So really it had everything I wanted. I will say I did guess the twist or one of the twists in the book, which is rare for me, but I think the rest of the book, including the incredible writing, really made up for the kind of lack of surprise on my end. I read The Day I Lost You by Ruth Mancini. I received this as a gifted copy from the publisher, and I was disappointed by this one. It is about a woman who calls in to report that her baby has been missing, and you kind of flash back and forth between the woman who has reported her baby missing and the woman who, for all intents and purposes, looks like she has taken the baby, although she claims the baby is hers. So it's about this kind of contested motherhood and what's happened to the real child. It just felt so unrealistic. There were parts in this book that I was just like, no way would that happen. And so I'm fine with an unrealistic book if it doesn't try to be an unrealistic book, if that makes sense. Like, if it's unrealistic and it's fantasy, that's okay. This felt like, oh, like a mystery crime drama happening, but none of the characters' like actions made sense. So to me, it just lost me. And unfortunately, this isn't one I could recommend. Then I read Mazey Eddings' latest book. I think it's about to be released. It's called You Won't Forget Me. This is a friends to lovers sapphic romance. I thought this was a lot of fun. It takes place kind of within the music industry, so the main two women are members of a band. I felt that in some places it slowed down because it focused more on the either band itself or the main character's kind of past with her ex rather than the kind of budding relationship between the two women who are at the core of this book. But all in all, I think for a fun romance, sapphic romance, this could be a good summer read. Okay, the next book I picked up, I was on a romance kick, clearly. I picked up Funny Story by Emily Henry. I've only read one of her books before, so I'm trying to read more of them, and I loved this book, honestly. It was just a lot of fun, and the chemistry between the main two characters is just very intense, and so I really enjoyed it. It centers on a woman whose fiance has just left her to go be with his like ex from childhood, and so she's trying to kind of put the pieces back together. She ends up moving in with the, how do I explain this? Okay, her fiance, the woman that he goes to be with, she moves in with that woman's ex, and then things ensue. That may not make sense at all. I could probably do a better job of explaining it. I have this thing where once I read a book, it kind of all vanishes from my head. I promise I read them. But that's the best I can do right here. But highly encourage you to pick it up especially if you've liked her other books and haven't read this one, or are just looking for kind of a light, fun romance to get started with. Okay, then I read There Is No Antimemetics Division, I think I'm saying that right, by qntm. Oh my gosh, this book, I'm having trouble even articulating what to say about it because it is such a mind-bending book. It focuses on the idea that there's this kind of alien enemy force out there that can erase your memories. So there's this like government agency fighting the force, but if they forget what they're doing because of the force, then how can the division fight them? Does that make sense? Like, hey, we're all on this team, we're gonna fight this enemy, but then the enemy makes us forget what we were doing, so we have to keep starting over. It's a wild book. I really, really enjoyed it. I think if you're looking for like hard science fiction, it's probably not that. I don't know, like, I'm not looking for real science in my science fiction, but it is pretty dense. There is a lot of like explaining to do as I'm talking clearly. It's very confusing, but I just thought it was so unique. I just hadn't read anything like it, so really loved it. Okay, then I finally picked up Dungeon Crawler Carl. I have seen this book and this series everywhere, and when I heard it was about Dungeons and Dragons, or kind of like a spin-off on that, I had no interest because I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. I thought, well, I don't have the requisite knowledge to go in to read this book. It doesn't matter. Let me tell you, this book is so much fun. It does have some kind of like teenage boy crude humor in it, I think, but it is just fabulous. So let me back up. If for those of you who somehow haven't heard about it, the idea is that an alien force wipes out all people on Earth who were inside a building when the attack happened. So like a large percent, more than half of people are like instantly gone. The people who are left have a choice. They can try to like fight for survival up top, or they can fight for survival in the dungeons, which is modeled after kind of a Dungeons and Dragons game, apparently. Can't speak to that. But what it really is, it's a reality TV show for like all the other beings in the universe. So this organization comes, takes over Earth, takes over planets, mines the planet, and meanwhile puts on a reality show for the people who are left on the planet who are fighting to survive. So Carl's the main character. He is stuck with his ex-girlfriend's cat when this happens. It's just so much fun, and it's written kind of like I expect how a video game would play. So like you get like kind of like message notifications pop up and it's like you've encountered a new creature or you've gotten a new like reward, and it's just a lot of fun. And I've already read the second book. I'll talk about that in a second. But I can't wait to read the whole series. All right, then I had another arc. I read Selfish, which is a memoir coming out by Kerry Docherty. She is the one of the co-owners of Docherty. I think I'm saying that right. It's like the clothing company, the kind of casual boho clothing company. This is a wild memoir. It is about her kind of reluctance around her marriage. It's about an affair. It's about motherhood. It is about giving birth. It is about her periods. Like, it gets into everything. Does not hold back, and I'll be really curious to see kind of what the wider reaction to this book is once it's out fully. Next up was Halcyon Years by Alastair Reynolds. This was for my sci-fi book club. I had really high expectations for this because I love a sci-fi mystery. So Nick Harkaway, someone who's written some good sci-fi mysteries that I like, and the premise of Halcyon Years is that there's this detective working on this spaceship that is heading towards this destination for all the people on board, and he is brought, somebody approaches him to solve a murder, and it was frustrating because I thought the premise was really interesting, but it fell flat. One, because of how it was written. I didn't like the main character was supposed to have this like Russian accent, but the dialogue just didn't. I don't think it was necessary to like play up that accent in the dialogue itself. It made it kind of stilted to read in a way, and I think it just really dragged on. Like, it could have been like a 150-page pages shorter. So haven't yet had the discussion with my book club about this one. I'll be interested to see what other folks think. But for me, good idea, just fell flat. Okay, so as some of you may know from our other channels, I spent 2 weeks wolfing, which is like living and volunteering on a farm, a maple syrup farm up in upstate New York for 2 weeks. Had the best time this month. And when I was up there, the maple syrup farm had received from a customer a book called Drizzled with Death, which, as you can imagine, is like a maple syrup mystery. It was about as good as you think it would be. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about this book. I mean, it was very kitschy, I think. It did actually capture some like real life components of the maple syrup process. There were also exotic animals on the loose through the whole book. It was really kind of all over the place. I wouldn't pick up another one in the series, but I'm glad I read it. Okay, then I read the second book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Again, loved it. Don't have much more to add than what I already said, but one thing I will add is that the kind of monsters and creatures are so creative, and I don't know how many of them are actually pulled from Dungeons and Dragons, but I imagine not all of them. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, put it in the comments, but they're so weird, disturbing, grotesque, all of the above. For Trans Day of Visibility, I read Disappoint Me, and this was a beautifully written book. So it follows Max, who is trans and starts to fall in love with this man, Vincent. It's about their relationship, but also the baggage they've both brought into the relationship and kind of how they're struggling through that together. It's about past trauma, but about hope as well. It's about family and bonds. I just found this really moving to read, and again, thought it was beautifully written. I think it's a book I'll pick up over the years again, because I think it really taps into a lot of what makes us human. And it has that kind of angst of kind of late 20s, early 30s maybe years, which I'm not feeling actually like very acutely right now, even though I was laid off, but I think it's something I'll go back to. Okay, then I read Near the Bone, which I picked up at a thrift store. It is a horror thriller. It's about a woman who has been trapped by this man. They're living up on this mountain, and there's like a monster out in the mountains coming for them now. I really didn't like this book. I wanted to, but I found the creature just odd. I don't want to give too much away, but I found it just didn't make sense to me what was going on. And again, it's okay if it doesn't make sense, but like it never really made sense. And the brutality of this man who is holding this woman hostage, I don't know. Like I read a lot of dark books, I'll say that. And this to me, it didn't feel necessary in a way. I don't know how else to put it. It felt like painful to get through it. Then I went on a little poetry kick. I read Bellyache, which I received as a gift from the publisher. This is a fantastic little collection of poems made for empaths, which I definitely am, about feeling all those emotions, about feeling sensitive and anxiety, and how you connect with others and the world around you, and how that anxiety can keep you up at night, and all those things. It's a beautiful collection of poems. I know that that's a book I'll be returning to kind of remind myself that I'm not the only person who feels a lot of these things, and there's beauty in it too. Then I read The Panther and the Lash by Langston Hughes. I'm so mad at myself for just now picking this up. This is an incredible collection of poems. There's one whole section that's about war. Feels unfortunately very timely, and he talks about kind of the impact of war and how, like, this one poem talks about victory doesn't matter for the people who have died. Like, they don't know whether we've won victory or not, and what does victory mean in that kind of sense. He also obviously talks about, being a Black man in America, the racism that Black Americans experienced and still are experiencing. Really good collection of poems, definitely one I'm keeping front and center on my shelf to revisit. And then I wrapped up the month with The Night She Disappeared. This is by Lisa Jewell. I also picked this up at a thrift store, but I've seen it a lot. I've wanted to read it for a while. This was really, really good, just mystery thriller. I do feel like it's one of those where 3 months from now I may not remember much. I'll have to like remind myself about it, but I did really enjoy reading it. It's about kind of a young couple who went missing a few years ago, and now that kind of investigation to their disappearance is reopening. It switches between times and perspectives, and it's just one of those books that like is why I love thrillers. It's, you pick it up, you can't put it down, you want to know who did it, you don't guess correctly, like all of those things this book had. So all in all, it was actually a little bit slower of a month for reading. I thought it wouldn't be because I was at a farm for 2 weeks, but I found myself busy with farm life and journaling and other things I'm picking up. But it really was nonetheless a good month of reading, and I'm excited to see what April brings.